Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. Intel has told us there are at least 7.
Okay, I already see one. Give them.
They're the same picture.
So Whispers in the Walls has dropped in Warframe, along with the new Warframe Corvex, and honestly he's probably my favorite Warframe in a while. I consider him a more fun, interactive, better version of Rhino. Now, I am by no means a seasoned Warframe veteran in the sense that I have all the late game mods all maxed out and I know every single little thing about Warframe math, but I just wanted to make a video about him because I've actually been rather enjoying his playstyle and the new tile set that comes with the update. Now, I've only recently gotten back into Warframe the past month or two. I didn't play for a whole year, and I just recently caught up on the Veilbreaker quest so I could actually start getting Archon shards and doing the Archon hunts and finishing up the Zariman Angels, the Holdfast faction, all of which has allowed me to get a hold of some better arcanes and just general weaponry and upgrades to make my late game builds much easier. So doing this kind of content is way more enjoyable than it was before. But without further ado, let's get on to the builds. As for Corvex's build, my Archon shards are 2 blue Archon shards that give me a total of 10 HP regen a second, 3 Crimson Archon shards for 10% ability strength. I have not, like I said, been playing the game very long, so I don't have a lot of Tau Forge shards. The secondary and melee are just there to be there. I don't really use them all that much, and I don't have any good secondaries, and I don't really vibe with the Grimoire. I haven't really found an interesting use for it, and it's not really my style. The Gram is just there because I like big swords. But the main draw for Corvex is his passive, and that synergizes with the boar, especially my Incarnate boar, which is an important part here. My main build is pretty generic. I have Rejuvenation for an extra 3% HP regen, so a total of 13. The reason why I'm running Rejuvenation and the 2 Archon shards is for when you're running the Netra cells, you can take up the HP debuffs, and essentially every time it ticks damage on you, you just regen that right away. I have Preparation for extra energy on spawn because I just like having more energy at the start. I don't really want to fight for it. My Umbral mods, I put an Umbral Forma on Corvex already because, in my opinion, he needs it. I don't really want to mess with anything else. Maybe mix and match if you want, but these are my generic builds. The Adaption mod is key here just for literally any tank Warframe, any Warframe in general if you can fit it on there. Adaption is way too good in my opinion. Primed Continuity is just here for the duration of Roar, which I subsumed onto him. I'm currently subsuming my Hildren in the event that maybe I want to switch it out for Pillage, which is probably better. If you know that Pillage is most likely the better choice, leave it in the comments for me. But for now, I'm just running Roar because I believe, although I couldn't find a concrete answer, on top of buffing all of my weapons, it also buffs my abilities, so my 4 and my 2. Umbral Vitality, Umbral Intensify, Umbral Fiber, of course not all maxed, and that is a little over 2,000 armor and 3,000 health. So if you've got your Umbral mods middle of the road like I do, it's not a bad choice. Primed Flow because I just want as much energy as possible to use my abilities, because you do use his abilities a lot. And Gladiator, Aegis, and Resolve here were just for the extra health and armor on top of the melee crit chance per combo multiplier for my Gram, because why not? My Arcanes, Molt Augmented, I pretty much put on almost every Warframe when I'm using their abilities a lot. It just makes everything so much better, and it scales so much better into the late game. The more enemies I kill, especially in the laboratories, which are just a absolute horde mode of enemies, you can pretty much easily max out this Arcane and buff Roar, obviously, and the other abilities. Tempo, I can switch this out depending if I want to use a different weapon with him or not, but because the boar has such a slow fire rate, it's what I'm using. The second build is mainly for his number 4 ability, mainly taking advantage of the Precision Intensify, which cannot be included with any other Intensify, not the basic one and not Umbral. They can only be swapped out for each other. This gives you 90% ability strength for your 4th ability, so if you just look at my damage number here, on top of my power strength, I have 32,000 damage a second versus 17,000. This is just kind of a fun build that I might screw around with at some point after the Gargoyle's Cry event is over and I'm done running the tile set. I did put Empower on this preset specifically just because it's a lot cheaper than Roar and it's only just to focus his number 4 ability. So again, pretty generic build, but mainly for power strength at this point. Obviously fleeting expertise, because literally duration doesn't matter on any of his abilities other than his original one. So why not? It's not a bad build, but again, this one's just for fun. That's why I have an Arcane Energize here as well. And of course, Mold Augmented. Now his last build, which is not any subsumed ability or anything, it's mainly for his one. If you're just playing low level content with a friend, or you're doing, you know, low level like Meso or Lith Fissures on defense, you could just plop down his little Shringa pillars, whatever the hell they're called, and just have the damage pulse. So this is built a little bit for duration, but mainly range, which the range isn't that much. And obviously there's better Warframes out there. Like you can just use a 4 spamming, you know, Avalanche Frost and get that job done the same. But if you like Corvex and you just want to run around with him and screw around with him, this is the build for you for being lazy about it. Of course, because I put on Mold Efficiency on this one, and he has a low base shield of 300, I put Redirection on just to make sure. Obviously, low level content, you're not going to be taking a lot of damage, so why not just throw on the max, well, nearly max Mold Efficiency and just have fun with it. Now, for the main weapon that I will be running in the laboratories, it is the Boar Prime. Boar Prime, with the Incarnate form, is absolutely amazing, because I get +4 punch through with armor over 450. Corvex base has like 850 armor, so you're obviously going to always have that innate punch through. On top of his passive, which is another +3 punch through, you'll be able to punch through 7 meters worth of enemies, and you'll just be able to shred an entire hallway. On top of that, Evolution 3 allows me to get +50% accuracy, so I have a tighter spread on a very spready shotgun. I also have, on Evolution 4, the ability to just barely get my crit chance over 100%. So you won't be getting crazy red crits with this unless you're shooting the little headshot weak points of the Murmur boss, but it's good nonetheless, and obviously if I were to put it on something like Harrow, it would be even better. And believe it or not, I can actually use my boar to Eidolon hunt, although it's not very easy compared to when you have a scoped weapon to spawn Vomvalus. But anyways, we're not talking about Eidolons. My Archon Hunter build is Corrosive and Radiation, which you can just use anyways in the labs. This is just a basic Corrosive, no Radiation, so it's a little bit more focused on Corrosive and Heat. But the main build I will be using in the labs is taking advantage of the new shotgun mod, Atomic Fallout, which gives me +60% radiation damage and 40% magazine capacity. Stack that on with a ammo stock mod, I have a magazine capacity of 40. Now you want to be running a companion that gives you either like shotgun mutation, like the Carrier Prime or something like that, just to be able to fix the ammo economy that you'll be dealing with. But in the labs, there's hordes of enemies. You won't have really any issue running out of ammunition. On top of that, the Incarnate form allows you to have basically free ammunition while you kill enemies to pick up normal shotgun ammo. Now, of course, I do have a Riven with this, which gives me more multi-shot. It gives me built-in Toxin, which allows me to get away with the builds that I have, and more critical damage. So if you don't have a Riven, just go with what you need to do. If you want more multi-shot, you're just going to have to deal with Galvanized Hell. If you want to build your weapons differently, you might not be able to get as much elemental damage as I am out of this. To each their own. Whichever weapon you choose, go along with it. I'm just saying for Corvex, this really synergizes well because of the Incarnate form. Now, I have Galvanized Acceleration in the Exilus slot because the more enemies I kill, the better my damage drop off. Critical Deceleration, which gives me 200% crit chance, but it does lessen my fire rate, hence why I used Arcane Tempo. Primed Point Blank, Primed Ravage, and Galvanized Hell, obviously giving me more multi-shot, is perfect. So I'll be running with Viral and Radiation. Obviously, getting Pillage on Corvex would allow me to armor strip the machines and make him killing them easier, but for now, this thing does plenty of damage. However, I do have to preface this. I did go and invigorate my Corvex by replacing a weekly or whatever with that bonus. So I have an extra 250% primary damage and an extra 1,000 HP. So you'll be running around with maybe 2,000 HP on a Corvex if you use the Umbral mods. And obviously you won't have as much damage as my boar does. Which right now, It's okay, but on Steel Path it gets a little iffy, but that's mainly because I'm not going around pressing a gazillion different keys to armor strip and all that jazz. But that's pretty much it for his build. For the focus tree, I've been running Unairu. I do not have any of my focus trees really maxed out except for Matarai because of Eidolon hunting. So you could get a little bit more armor and health, a little bit more armor for your Warframe and Operator. And I need to bind these, but Poise really helps as well with immunity if you're going in and out of the Operator form. Because I'm not running a primed sure-footed, because that's a waste of time. Anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for Corvex. I feel like his kit is obviously designed around corridors like the laboratories and the new tile set, so I'm not sure if I would use Corvex on an open world setting, maybe with his build centered around his laser. That would be pretty funny. But beyond that, he's just a very strong frame, in my opinion, for the tile sets that we've been given. His one ability is just there, honestly, just to be there for getting subsumed. But if you decide to find a way to use it, I mean, more power to you. Also, Corvex kind of finishes our Pillarmen theme. Inaros is like the sand guy. Atlas is the rock punch guy. And now we have the actual literal pillar dude. Who shoots lasers out of his chest instead of his frickin' forehead. And of course, if you want to obtain Corvex, you can run the Kavia bounties, and you can get his part blueprints from the various reward pools, and his signature arc gun, which I don't have the ability to deploy in a tile set anyways, so I don't really care about it. But that concludes the video for now, guys. I know it's been a month since I've made any content on the channel, and this is actually, I believe, my first Warframe video ever. I've always been playing the game, always enjoyed it, but I figured why not go ahead and make a video on it. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any tips for me to improve my builds, or you have your own ideas and the builds that you've done for Corvex, if you have them already, just leave them in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.